been working on a painting today. Let's see, doesn't look like it's focusing very well. This is the same painting that was the subject of the time-lapse short that I published a little bit earlier today. And I had a few of these pebbles were painted in and had dried down, and I'd taken a break, and when I came back to the painting, they had really developed, and I thought, it would be kind of nice to share with you what these look like juxtaposed with freshly painted pebbles, because the freshly painted ones just look like a blob of muddy water. I really have to use my imagination to try to figure out what the rocks are going to look like once they dry down, because there's a lot of change. So, like I said, I thought you guys might enjoy seeing what those look like as they develop. They go just from a muddy puddle, and then as they dry down, the granulating colors do their well, they granulate. It's the magic of them, and that creates the little shadows and the things that look like pits and chips, and that's what creates the look of rocks. So in this painting, I used the Daniel Smith line Primatech that is made from things like hematite and bloodstone, and a gem called zoisite. I've also got in here some Potter's Pink from Schminke. And what else did I use from them? Desert Green. Desert Green shows up here, and I've got it in a couple of these other little accents. Just touches of a little bit of yellow ochre here and there. Mixed, toned down with a little bit of raw sienna. And then some of the traveling colors in here, I've used Davies Gray, Payne's Gray, and Indigo. Hello, Maya. Welcome in. Good to see you. And tried to keep the palette somewhat controlled. The cool, kind of magical purple color you see here is that Paul Rubens Moonlight Purple. Just beautiful. Just used a touch of that and mixed it with Hematite Genuine zoisite. Zoisite tends a little bit gray-green, and that's got us where we are here. So I'm doing something a little bit different. Usually I try to paint everything in and then come in just even with those little tiny ones, and then outline afterwards. But I think on this one, I'm going to try some intermediate outlining. Hey, Joe. Good to see you. Alrighty. Alrighty. I'll try not to make too many loud exclamations. I've been told, and this is great. If this is soothing to you, and if you go to sleep thinking about art and drawing and painting, I just can't imagine a better way to go to sleep. I think that's nothing wrong with that. So I think that was most of the colors. I used the touches of blue. There's a little bit of soda light in there, and maybe some indigo. And I don't know what I'm going to use in the background yet. My brain kind of took a glance at this and said Amazonite, which is a beautiful sort of a bottle green. It's really pretty. And I do have a goodly amount of it. Yeah. And then may or may not have sat here thinking about the colors of mouthwash in the 70s and how that looked like scope. It is kind of like And how back then we had, there was some blue mouthwash and there was some red mouthwash. Boy, I don't think they sell those super saturated colors. I'm sure there was a lot of food dye in them back in the day. And Listerine was vaguely yellow, but yeah, may give a clue about what I may or may not have been doing earlier in the afternoon. Just sit and just space out about mouthwash colors for a while. So I'm not settled. I'm not settled on Amazonite. I have to look at it in the morning light and see. Like maybe I'll add a little of that into the, because you're just, you do have to respond when your brain gives you an answer when you're trying to think of it. You've got a question, not sure how to get there. Take a nap, check it with yourself, because sometimes your brain just gets it figured out. So the short was about 45 minutes of painting condensed into about I cut it just under 60 seconds so I could add a little music to it, and it's kind of fun to watch. But we went from just a little bit of corner, and you would have seen that in the thumbnail for this video, and painted in the rest, painted in some more smaller stones after the time-lapse video. And now if I stop talking and get some outlining done, we'll be to the outlining portion of it. So of course the short goes up and there's no likes, but somebody just takes their time to leave me a comment, which was, yeah, but why? And no thumbs up. So I'm thinking, if they meant it in a nice way, they'd give me a thumbs up, which is the general indicator you don't hate what I'm doing. And my thought is like, why not? What is it, me sitting here painting rocks on a piece of paper harming the world? Well, if here's one thing I can think of, it helps. It keeps trolls from, if they trolls spend 60 seconds watching me do that, it keeps them off the internet leaving snarky comments on other people's artwork. So there's a why. And then I had a counter question, which is, yeah, why not scroll? If time lapse of pebble painting is that horrible that you've got to stop and snark about it, yeah, just why scroll? So of course, I get curious about these things, so I click through to the channel to see, and they've been here for about 10 years on YouTube. No content. Handful of followers. I was just thinking, 10 years just sitting on in your gaming chair and just sliding around the internet and harshing on people making art. What the hell's wrong with you? Get your buttocks off that sofa, go outside, and yeah, act like you don't have a phone and YouTube for a week, and then come back and talk to me. Or don't. So, I know quite a few of the folks that hang out here with us. Quite a few of you are also content creators, live streamers, and people who make music, people who make really cool shorts, people who run live streams and host chat forums where people can come and connect and hang out. And I know a number of you are you try. I can tell you like I do try to be kind of nice to people, and that roll through here. I know you'll see me in forums sometimes just raising hell because left to my own devices, that's I do like a good laugh. I like to hang out and goof off and laugh, but here I do try to keep kind of on an even keel so that because I know the time I'm choosing to live stream, a lot of you people are kind of winding your days down, and you don't need me being terribly raucous every once in a while, but not all the time. And hey, Pondfish. Oh, you're painting. Excellent. Excellent. Glad to hear it. So, anyway, I try to be pretty chill and not arc too much, but I don't like seeing those critical comments for artists. And the pointless ones. And it's not like it's different to offer a little criticism. Like, keep working on that design or I just switched up to a 10 because I'm looking for a nice juicy wide line here. So the debate in my head is whether even to acknowledge somebody who's being a bit of a troll or being a bit of a just unnecessarily coming in and taking the time on a short to just go leave a snappy comment. I mean, dude, just scroll on. Go find something you like. So I'm interested what you guys, my folks out there, you're not mine and you don't belong to me. You're all free agent artists, humans. But I wonder, yeah, what do you guys do with that stuff? Do you just ignore it? And if you ignore it, is that easy to ignore it? Or do you have to kind of like tamp down the growlies and the what the those kind of short 4-letter word responses that come easily to mind. Or do you let it go, or do you just delete it? Do you answer it? Do you make like a cat and play with it a little bit before you kill it? Yeah, you hide them. Huh. Alright, let me just scroll back here because I think I might have. Nope. Okay, I think I got y'all. Just hide them. Yeah, does it stick with you? I mean, I think sometimes that's like the autistic part of me is just like, ouch, that hurt. I kind of wish I could be more of those people who just immediately like gauge it and just go, yeah, that's not sustaining, or yeah, I reject that. I don't accept that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if that's just temperamental. Like some people just have the temperament to do that, and so they can easily accomplish that, or There's probably some Zen trick to taking a breath and just... Oh, actually there is something kind of Buddhist about it. And I won't have this quote exactly right, but this, I believe, is attributed to the Buddha. And let me think about it a minute, because I'm autistic. I have like 3 jokes in my repertoire. I'm got a great, I think I have an okay sense of humor, pretty good sense of humor, but telling a joke, the traditional, just, hey, did you hear the one about, I can't get through one of those just accurately, which just makes my family laugh at the way I tell jokes. Not the jokes I tell, but at the way I try to tell those jokes. So the saying is, if you are free to refuse a gift of gold, are you not all likewise free to reject a gift of manure? But if someone gives you something and it's like it's too much, you can say, yeah, no, yeah, I just couldn't possibly accept that. Or someone offers you something that seems positive, right? That we judge to have valuable attributes. And for me, it's, it's like when that relative offers you the giant piece of oak furniture that's beautiful and been in the family for 3 generations, and you just don't have room for it. Yeah, if Maya says she might play with them for a while. Okay. Well, if I leave it in my form and you find it, you're free to play with it. At the point where I think it gets out of hand, I just delete it. And I take a little pleasure in that. Like, if you're, just don't leave shit in my comments. Try to be constructive about it, and not, if I don't like it, it's my world. I'll clean it up as I see fit. And if you're like hesitant out there, if you're somebody who's like been given a bit of a hard time, and you're like, well, I guess I have to, you can make your decisions. If you're a person who wants to foster free speech by letting everybody speak freely in your work area of YouTube, you do you. But if a little peer pressure or peer support will help you feel freer to do some gardening in your own comment sections, I support that. They can say whatever they want. They have a channel. Everybody who has a username on YouTube has a channel, so you can take that but why all the way back to your place. Yeah, I think that person who left that comment, right, if you, like I said, get your buttocks off the chair and go get some paint, coloring crayons, whatever speed suits you, and spend some time making art. I'm gonna say you're probably not gonna be very good at it, because nobody is when they very first start. But you'll be making the world a more beautiful place, because you won't be on the internet just snarking at random strangers. I've recently been hanging out in some channels that are a little more freewheeling, and not in an obnoxious and rude way, but in a pretty cool way. They don't bully people. They will banter with new folks who come in as long as the new folks aren't being too obnoxious. It's a bit of a different energy, and I'm noticing something that just a different vibe in some of the fellas. They have channels and they'll sort of tolerate trolls, and the trolls come in and they'll lob something in, but it's usually not as sexualized or yeah, I think that's my main complaint. I get some other stuff, some scatological nonsense. Like somebody must be making bots that crawl YouTube just making those comments. If you've been in any live chat for more than 5 seconds, you probably know what I'm talking about. But some of that stuff, I just wondered, does it come at me because it's, channel's fairly, it's got a woman's name in the title of it. I just really thought that by the time we got to this, it's 2025 and we've still just got that kind of crap filling up the spaces where people come to meet and hang out, and I just don't understand it. But alrighty, I guess enough of that rant for one. Sandy Hill, hello. Sandy says, to be honest, I struggle with the hate for hate's sake. Yeah, there's a lot of it. And I kind of, like, on one hand, like, if you just give back the hate, that's not really what I learned from all of the reading of Buddhism. It's like, if you respond to everything with loving kindness, you have a chance of having less hate or possibly even loving kindness coming back to you in return. But if you respond to everything with hate, you just increase the amount of hate overall. But if you respond with loving kindness, chances are good you're not going to win, but you're not going to increase that problem. So hence my struggle to look at that comment and just go, well, what is this person? Why are they hurting so that they have to come and kind of and basically say, why are you doing that? Why are you putting that on the internet? Like, what the hell? And maybe they really meant, what are you getting out of that? Like, you seem to be getting something out of that. The people who watch, are they getting something out of that? What are you getting that I'm missing? What's that sense of peace of mind that I get after spending some time making art? Right? How do I get there? Well, most artists don't paint rocks or pebbles. They paint whatever just takes their imagination away and calms their mind. And I happen to really like the way these super granulating colors and these colors made from pigments, I really like the way they represent rocks. And so right now, and I'm not going to be doing this in 10 years or 10 months, or I might be doing it in 10 months, but I might not be doing it, in 10 weeks. Probably going to be doing it, at least another 10 days. So it's probably more constructive to respond to these kinds of inquiries with encouragement for someone to tap into whatever calms them and makes them act like a more generous, less critical, more emotionally balanced, calmer, more peaceful. What else? Yeah, it enhances my ability to be a better human. Reduces my blood pressure, lowers my heart rate. I was gonna say, yeah, it's not like it's world peace, but I don't know, if we all took a little art break, maybe world peace. So on this painting, I'm going to connect these lines because I want these shapes to be set like it is like a stained glass window or leaded glass window, and use the neurographic art technique of rounding any place where there's a sharp intersection. I'm just going to come in and drop some ink in and round that and connect these shapes. There's something that makes our brains very calm and happy to round off sharp points, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch to a smaller pen. All right, gonna check the chats here. Joe Banana says, get them gone, unless it's someone you know well, and maybe say that's your opinion. Yeah, I would take that from somebody who is like at least on the channel a minute, or bother to like give me the old thumbs up. Yeah, I'll play no pay with these jokers. Maya's inner cat comes out. She might play with him for a while. Alrighty. I do that on other places. Are you on Reddit, Joe? Are you trying to kick somebody's butt over there? There are some other corners of the internet where people play a little rougher. Yeah, I mean, if you're there and that's the rules, okay. And hidden people in your channel, hidden people that wouldn't be good for your channel or for the peeps in your live chats. Oh yeah, right. I have a ridiculous block list, which if anybody finds herself on the block list, um, yeah, just uh, get a hold of me. We'll talk about it. Uh, sometimes it's I was in a mood, and sometimes it was inadvertent, and sometimes it might have to do with the words on my block list, because that's pretty extensive. So if there's any combination of letters in your name that, yeah, just get a hold of me and we'll work it out. Maya says granulating colors makes her very happy. Yeah, thank you. I am glad. Yeah, I don't, it's a memo I don't mind getting over and over. Yeah. I did take a minute. I took, well, okay, maybe like 20 minutes. It didn't take as much time as I should, because usually when I get the comments and I don't, like, I don't know. I don't think I complain too much. Maybe I do. Maybe I rant a little bit. Because my first reaction was pretty naughty. And I just went, well, just don't. Yeah, don't take the time. Just delete the comment. And then I was like, wait a minute, should we just engage with this idea of why engage in some mindfulness art exercises? Yeah, because making art is really good for you. That's why I'm here with this message for, 130 videos or wherever we're at. We're pretty good. We're over 100, so, uh, you know. And I know people have come and said that they've been encouraged to engage in art and that they like doing that. So that's all the why we need. Probably don't even need that much why. But yeah, but definitely like taking some time. And I knew I was like, that the reaction to respond in a snarky manner, well, that's reaction, that's not a response. And, whatever opportunities we can make out of what's in front of us, uh, if that's material that we can turn into something useful and instructive and positive, well, that's a reaction, that's a different choice. That's a response. I misspoke. Reaction is just, I see it, response is take it in, think about it, convert it, put it to use. So Sandy Hill says, I try to critically think things through, not be so reactionary trying to take the evolved path, but let's face it, I don't live on a mountain in the Himalayas, so some days maybe the trolls need to be told. Same. Right? Like let's spend some time mentally in the Himalayas, but yeah. Oh, Maya, the horde continues. Maya says she's hoping for a package. Well, I can't wait, because that usually means there's more new art to make. Jojo says definitely don't use Reddit. I mean, like just Facebook DMs. Oh, Instagram. If somebody's being racist, sexist, or homophobic, or ableist, I literally go to the channel and block them, because I can do that, and then I don't have to see that kind of behavior more than the once I've already been insulted by it. And unlike YouTube, Instagram does a pretty good, they're blocking pretty much if you say I don't want to see that, you don't ever see it again. Oh, thank you, Sandy. Sandy says, you don't complain, it's just a chat, and even if you did complain, that's still okay. Well, yeah, working it out for a better way of going through. Maya, Maya says she finds it pretty useless to try to seriously discuss with hateful people online. Um, so unless I feel like trolling the black back, just uh, she just shuts up. Really? Uh, Always? Yeah. Let's talk about art supplies. Yeah, it's more art to make. Too much art is hanging in the air, just waiting for someone to grab it and place it on some paper or canvas. That is, that's a cool idea. That's a cool thing to envision. I'll get ideas in my head about things, and I think everybody's creative process is a little bit different, but I'll get ideas and they just hang out and they bug me and, until I um, get out whatever the media is. And it could be paint, could be anything and everything. And the longer I let it kind of hang out in my head, the more my head sort of works on the idea and refines it. And sometimes I think, wow, it'd be really cool if they could be just out in the air and not, pestering me in my head every time I try to just hang out and let my head idle. But sometimes I'll wake up from sleeping and have the resolution to some design problem that's been unresolved. So with this particular painting, what I'm got in mind is to lay down these fairly bold outlines at this point, and then I haven't quite decided. I will either do a wash or I might add in, because there is quite a bit of room, so I might work wet and wet and add in some more pebbles, and then probably take another intermediate step with outlining. And finish with probably a wash. And usually I touch it in little spots. I think this time I want to lay it with the pigment fairly heavily at the edge to really define the difference between the white border and the artwork, and then have it be more diffused as it, maybe diffused isn't quite the right word, but maybe have it less saturated as it comes to the center. So that will leave a lighter area in the center. Anyway, that's what's kind of that's how the idea is formulating so far. Yeah, so I'm just getting in those little kind of the sharp corners. So you see down here it's still fairly sharp, and then I've softened it more, rounded off those areas to make the colored rocks look like they're bounded in the way that leaded glass has the lead came segment and separate out those jewel tones of the different glass pieces. There's it's true. Look, there's miles of landscape in here. Probably, yeah. I wonder if y'all slid it down. Like, there's probably still a third. There's still probably like 35% of this is uncovered with paint, and there's so much paint and so much open space. You know, I've been raving about this Accurate pens, and just I've been really pleased with it. There was finally a dud in the box. I got this one out 2 days ago, and it's already empty. But the other ones have been just chock full of pigment ink, and I've been really pleased with them. So I hope that it's not like that the pens don't somehow evaporate. Now the whole box is, I mean, it's just one bad pen, right? Yeah. But my only complaint about them is that the caps, they go on, they don't really snap on nicely. And so I usually just leave them, and then they're susceptible to being knocked onto the floor with a cat hair. But if that's the only fault these pens have, then, you know, it's a pretty good pen. So, a few weeks ago, I wandered down to the local, there's a, I have to change. There was a store called Craft Warehouse. And I lived very close to it, and it was just a comfort to know that there were art supplies just very nearby. And in my world, let me put it this way, the next closest art supply store is Hobby Lobby. So I needed some pens, and I was gonna run down, and I thought, oh, it's the weekend, I better check and make sure they're still open, see what time they close. They close. It's not unheard of for things to be closed at 5 p.m. on a weekend. And I got on the website, and the website said it listed several of the locations, but not the local one. So I thought, did a web search, and the local newspaper had an article saying that our location was going to close. So today when I was out running errands, I thought, I wonder if they were really closed. And I drove by, and the place was, like, the sign is still on the building, but all the window signs are gone, and you could see into the building, and there wasn't even a fixture. It was just blank linoleum and if posts in a warehouse. But they are gone. I know, and I'm thinking about and apparently they decided that they were going to start closing in December. And then I thought back, and I realized when I went into the store the last time, there was a sign. And it was kind of one of those old-fashioned, what they must be like, let me think. I don't know. Maybe they're 10 by 9 by, I don't know, there's kind of small, not quite a whole sheet of copier paper sized signs that a lot of old fashioned stores used to make, and they would make them in house, and they'd have like a border around the edge of fluorescent color, and then they would print out whatever information, store hours or sales, or, and there was a sign on the door and it said store closing. And I remember thinking, oh, are they going to be closed for a special event or something? And I kind of glanced at it, but I didn't really take it in. And when I went in the store, the shelves were very well stocked. So I, again, didn't process that it meant that the store would go away. And my autistic brain went, it's there, it'll always be there. Object permanence. And, well, today it wasn't there. So, Irish Mart, hello. Yeah, hello, hello. Maya says, that's rude to close an art store. Yeah. What, that, talk about rude. Do we have Easter long weekend? There's not, I don't think there's an official, like a bank holiday like like the Monday after, but there will be a lot of, there are quite a few Catholics in the community where I live, and so there will be observances of, and not just Catholics observe Good Friday, but they do it up big, and the local Episcopalians do it up pretty big too. So there will be, like tomorrow, out and about in the community, I will see people who, no, tomorrow's not, okay, you can tell I'm not Catholic. Ash Wednesday, did that already happen? That already happened, right? Palm Friday, Ash Wednesday, Fat Tuesday. Yeah, I think it happened in that week. But so if you're out on that day, like you'll see lots of people who have an ashes mark on their forehead because they've gone to mass. But it's not like we'll have Friday off, but you will see, like restaurants, it'll be fish. There'll be fish specials advertised on the signs, and so there will. It's the community. A lot of people in the community do observe Easter, and I think I know they canceled it in the community egg hunt in COVID time, and I don't have little kids in my life, so I don't know. May or may not be an Easter egg hunt at the local park on Saturday. But it's not. Yeah, people will go to work on Friday. It won't really be. I think most people will go to work on Friday. Offices and businesses won't be closed. Smaller businesses will be closed on Sunday, probably. Hobby Lobby will for sure be closed on Sunday. But our grocery stores and the big stores they'll be running on Sunday, and there'll be a lot of people out going to church, a lot of people out in their Sunday, in their Easter hats and frocks. Yeah, so that was more information than you wanted to know about local tradition. Sorry about that. Yeah, my mother, when she was alive, always put together Easter dinner and expected us all over to get Easter baskets and full of good chocolates and marshmallow candies and candy corn. I don't know why she always would put candy corn in the things. I just had to do something to balance all of the chocolate. Alrighty, I think I'm just sort of fussing around at this point, but I'm curious to know what. There's quite a few people here from. Gosh, I think we're all in different countries, aren't we? Kind of curious about what holiday traditions are for where you folks are. Irish Mart says. Oh, wait. You're making Joe laugh. I have to go read what you said. I said Fat Tuesday. Pancake Tuesday. Mardi Gras. Yeah. Wait a minute. They were spicy? So in Norway, Maya reports that the weekend starts tomorrow, which will be the Wednesday before Easter, because people will watch this at some other time. No, okay. Hey, if it makes you happy, stay where you're happy. So Irish Mart says most people here get Friday off. Uh, we're predominantly Catholic, so your weekend starts at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Well, that's excellent. And you're still on your first coffee? Oh, get tanked up. Maya says in Norway, holy cow! Here everything is closed on Thursday and Friday. Stores open on Saturday, close again Sunday and Monday. Whoa! We're bracing ourselves, Irish. So, the Easter Bunny used to terrify Irish Mart as a kid, as for some reason I pictured it as a scary large man size rather than a cute little bunny. Oh, uh, it can be a little bunny? I always envisioned it as a huge, kind of scary human sized thing. I must have conceived of it as a small bunny at some point before now. Good grief. You may or may not have just broken my brain with that thought. Yeah, but yeah, drop it in the comments. When you were a little kid, or even is it, yeah, what size, how big is the Easter bunny? I want to know. Oh, for Maya says not many go to church during Easter here in she's in Norway. You go skiing on the mountains. Ah, that's excellent. So then, do you also have spring break? Because I wonder if what we do, depending on, I've had spring breaks in my education at some points 1 week. At some other institutions, spring break is a 2 or 2.5 week thing. It's a break between terms. So we would have finals and finish the winter term, and then have spring break, which would be, seems, I don't know, about the same length as winter break, which I know doesn't help you if you don't live where there's a U.S. school system. But so I wonder if the Easter holiday is part of like what Americans have just gone, well, yeah, forget the long weekend, let's just have it a whole week. And then that's the spring break kind of is determined by the school schedule. It's not an official thing, it seems to shift a bit. Sandy, Sandy Hill says in Australia, it used to be 4 days, everything closed Friday to Monday. Now everything is closed Friday, shops open. Saturday closed, Sunday, that's egg day, and closed on Monday. Yeah, so you've got to get your duck eggs in a row because the stores will be closed. So yeah, we're America. Stuff's open all the time. Okay, so Joe says schools are closed through this weekend, so you got a 2 week break. Okay. Joe, you never thought about the size of the bunny. Do you do you generally envision things? Because some people, yeah, some people their mental process is more conceptual, and some people actually envision very specific scenes. I can build a whole bunch of stuff in my mind's eye, turn it upside down, mirror it, flip it around. I'm I'm a I'm a visualizer. I didn't even realize till I was an adult that there are some people who can't put a picture in their mind's eye, and they're fully functional in the world. It's not a deficit. It's just a one of those human differences. Irish Mart, how is a man-sized bunny not scary as heck to a kid, right? Like, and it doesn't talk. Like, so you can't say, like, what are you doing and get any kind of a response. And and all year you're told, well, don't take candy from strangers unless they're dressed like a giant bunny and, you know, unless you're wearing a costume, fancy dress, in which case get all the candy you can from strangers. As many strangers as possible. It's tough. It's tough being a kid in the world. At least with Santa Claus, like that dude will answer a few questions. Easter Bunny just like, nope. Have some candy, little kid. Sandy Hill. Okay. Uh, Five Nights at Freddy's vibes. Oh, Sandy Hill heard that there was some sort of religious thing happening as well. I know Jesus adopted a rabbit that gives out chocolate eggs, and God bakes some buns. Uh, but she could have some of that wrong. I love it. Uh, exactly. Yeah. Right. She says had no issue sitting on a strange man's lap for a wee present. Really, just kind of gets us set up for that. Oh, Irish Mart says her brain overthinks even the simplest of things and never been able to visualize. Your mind is a complete and utter blank. Oh, well, see, that would explain never really visualized the Easter Bunny. Ah, see, it seems like a random and wandering conversation, and then we get to it. Um, I, I have a degree, a Bachelor of Science in psychology, and with, went to a university with a top 20 program. So, pretty good. I think sometimes you can default to a psychology degree, and I was looking at fine art, and then as a young person, just went, I don't know if I can. My parents, I had a family who was like, no, you're not studying fine art. You find something else to do. And so the second thing that was on my transcript with pretty decent grades were introductory psych classes. So I went and studied it, pretty intensely. Very, very interesting topic to me. And, how our brains work, how the human senses how we cognitively, through the way that we use our senses to interact with the world. I mean, that's a lot of that is how we're human, and just to I didn't articulate that idea very well, but I don't think it really matters all that much what to you guys what drove me to it. But I I just find it interesting, and I studied how the different parts of the brain work, and perception is part of the study of psychology, as well as learning and developmental psychology. There's a lot of angles in psychology, I guess you could say, simply. But yeah, I think it was probably when I was studying psychology and learning about cognition that I learned that not everybody can visualize. But yeah, you just kind of assume everybody kind of does it the way you do it until you have a conversation about it. Joe said, Joe's always had images in their head. I just thought of cute little bunnies, like from cartoons, I guess, and of course chocolate, which was high priority. Well, yeah, yeah, and good. Like my mom, the Easter Bunny, always put like C's chocolate is a sort of a fancy brand. Um, I don't, I don't know. It's not like Godiva, which not my favorite. Uh, Not quite. You can have mine. Well, you have quite a bit of mine if it's Godiva, because it's got that funny. The taste to me that's a little bit. I don't know what to make of it. And I know there are some people who just Godiva is the only thing in the world that makes them happy. But um, yeah, my brain's ping ponging about chocolate, worldwide chocolate at the moment. But yeah, some people's Easter bunnies, they skimp and they get the store chocolate. My mom was always go to the chocolate store, chocolate for Easter baskets. So um, that was kind of cool. You guys are cracking me up with these stories. Santa was a homeless dude coming down your chimney, no invitation, eats the cookies and whiskey, and moves on to the next place. Right? Yeah, it's a bit. It's tough being a kid. Yeah, he has reindeer. Yeah, well, that is so that makes him harmless. Well, it certainly it's a point in his favor. Yeah, Irish Bart. This is a good point. Like seeing a strange man at the park with a dog, we instantly trust said man because of the cute dog. Yeah, well, your dog vouch for you? Well, sure, I'll talk to you. Yeah, you do have to ask them, is that your dog, sir? Yeah, clarify that before you really get gung ho with. Uh, you want to find out that's his girlfriend's dog or his boyfriend's dog sooner rather than later. Ask me how I know that one. This pen is. I need a 5. I need a 3. I don't know if I have any black 5s. Wait, no, these are 5s, right? Nope, 3s. can't believe the art supply store closed. What were they? Yeah, they made this decision. I mean, it was the newspaper said they were doing it in December, starting it. So, and my other regret is they probably had clearance sales and stuff, and I do. If there's anything like better than a clearance sale, it's a supply clearance sale. So, they've consolidated. They have some other locations, but it's a bit of a drive. So. Oh, you guys are cracking. If you're on Replay Crew, you're going to want to slide over and just enjoy the live chat, because these guys are just cracking me up tonight. Alright, I'm going for the 10. This will make a bold line. Oh yeah, that's what I want. So I'm kind of hesitating to dive into this because usually I do the... Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Usually I complete the painting portion of this, and then I come in and do the outlining in the last steps. And you guys have seen me outline this stuff enough to know that once I get started, I just fill in every available space. And I want to not do that because I would like to paint some more rocks in this. So that's why there's a lot of deliberating or slowing down. And I think this one will be kind of fun to paint in these circles. And my hope is that it will strengthen the line element of the painting. Like when I first started these, the lines were pretty thin, and the paint was the part of it that was up front, and I was just doodling around a couple weeks ago and just had these pens that now I know why they only had what they had, because I'm sure the company intended, you know, to close out the stock that they had. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, no, I've never heard that. Huh. usually only sneeze in singles. Okay, well, that was a lot of line. All right. All right. Oh, we blew right over an hour. Okay, I guess we'll roll for a minute. That's cool. I'm glad to see you guys tonight. I know I was kind of away from the live streaming for a bit, and I sure missed hanging out with y'all. Okay, this pen's too big. I'm Goldilocks, I tell ya. Too small, too big. Oh, I just want a 5. Oh, Joe. Joe says she's got someone at her work that sneezes 10 times in a row. I had an aunt who would, my uncle's third wife, so, uh, interesting at that point. Uh, and completely irrelevant, but she would start sneezing, and my uncle would go, "Yeah, it's 20. It's always 20." And that woman would sneeze and sneeze and sneeze and sneeze. Like, I only have ever seen dogs sneeze 20 times in a row. But every once in a while, there'll be someone who, they just get a, they have the sneezing episodes. Wild. Yeah, a lot of sneezes. And here's the odd thing: she was in a car accident. Had a serious car accident that she was in a coma for a while after the wreck, and she didn't sneeze like that before. But after the wreck, after she recovered and was went, uh, you know, it was a story with some sad corners. But she, yeah, she recovered and went back and to work and, um, but yeah, after that, some reason after and the part of me that studied psychology is like, what happened to her brain that made that change? What happened to her body that made it so that she became a could sneeze by the score after that. Just wild. Maya sneezes 40 sneezes back to back. Holy cats. Well, 40, of course it wears you out. Goodness sakes. Yeah, Irish Mart, I'm with you. Like, it takes a lot. It takes. I do have. I'm in Oregon. We're the allergy capital of the world. So, yeah, there's sneezing and allergies. But, like, yeah, three. Three is like, wow, that was a lot. Uh, 4, 5. This one, on the other hand, the cat, she can string together quite a few. Yeah, I love a good sneeze too. Like if one's been kind of sitting around, for like there'll be that sensation. I wish I could just sneeze, and then finally, yeah. Did something get shifted in her nose? Like she didn't have. She got kind of bonked on the head. She didn't really have any facial injuries. Um, but I suppose if your septum was deviated, you might not know it. I mean, it's kind of internal, right? Something. Yeah, that could have been. Maybe that's it. Yep, Kitty. Kitty, who has already eaten, well, she was on 2 packets of cat food a day, and now then it was like, she started to lose a little bit of weight, and I was like, nah, she needs 2.5. And now she's up to 3. But at this point, if I put, not exactly, like if I can't read her mind and I put the wrong flavor down, she like licks the goo off of it and then looks at me like, I'm not eating the rest of this. And so then I wait 4 hours till she comes and meows at me, and then we go out and I, chop it up and give it back to her, and she goes, oh, this is delicious. So we're kind of in that phase at this point. Yeah, so let's paint some of these. Let's just quit fiddling around and figure out. I think I'm gonna go with that Moonlight Purple. For some of these areas. I really dig that color. It is a Paul Rubens color, and then I think we'll sneak in some of the haze pink. Well, I don't know if that'll shift it enough. Maybe I want to stay kind of grayed down, but lively. Okay, we don't need that. I think maybe blues. Let's go blues. And if it's too blue, then we'll just put a wash of Davies Gray over it, and that will fix it. Oh, goodness no. Yeah, look at this. I still have a... Yeah, there's a nice big mountain of it. I use it, I get the brush pretty wet, bring the paint out, and I make it go... Like, I don't like taking the brush into the water and washing out the brush. If I've got that color on, that's how much I like it. It is so beautiful. And yeah, for you pigment nerds out there, this paint is called Moonlight Purple. Here's a swatch of it down here. It's got this sheen to it that is a very blue purple, and it's just complex. It's got it's a super granulating color that has different pigment in it. It's got well, let's see, we're starting with P073, so that's an orange. And PB29, that'll be your ultramarine blue, right? PG18, that's Viridian. So orange, blue, and green makes purple. So magic, right? It's just mysterious and kind of pretty, and there's something about it that reminds me of the Northern Lights or the Northern Skies, and I just really think it's cool. Thank you. And Maya, these were some of the paints that Maya sent me to try out, and I appreciate that so much. We are pigment twinsies. We do like a lot of the same kind of stuff. If it's pretty, we like it. For some reason, I thought that had PBK11 in it, which is Mars Black. So now my brain is it's like Siri. When you refuse to take that left turn across the interstate, and Siri's like, recalculating. Oh, maybe haze blue. Yeah, okay, let's not overthink this. It's just paper. Yeah. No, I feel like I'm not running out of this. I feel like I've been just, it's been the go-to for stuff, and um, there's a good hoard of it. So I'm good. Like it's when you get to that point in your art supplies and you start to worry, you get that feeling. It's like, I want to save that, or do I have enough container of that in the back stock? Not getting that feeling. I'm still ahead of the game on it. So, oh, that's good. It's very haze blue from Schmincke, and it reminds me of denim. It's quite a lovely. PB29, PBR7, and PY43. Oh, okay. That's a good pedigree. Overdid it. Gotta love an art form that includes a cleanup rag as part of your regular kit of goodies to tools. That's what I'm trying to say. Maya says the moonlight purple is a strong color. You just need a tiny bit. It's true, and like some of the paints seem like you do need to kind of charge the puddle of water with quite a bit of paint. The moonlight purple diffuses, and it's like this was just a tiny little dot of water on the dried paint, and just like one brushful brought up and did this rock. There's some other colors touched onto the top of it, but it is it's very concentrated. Nice, nice. JoJo's brekkie. Yeah. What do we got? Yeah, breakfast for you. Had to orient myself in time over here to do a little international time zone calculations. I think I'm just going to go for zones here, and then rather than this is painted in, it's a distinct rock, but I think what I have done is deliberately paint shapes, and I think for this one I'm just going to try to loosen up a little bit and just do little washes here and there, and then I'm going to let the line work define where those are. That's a change up. Oh, that's good. This is green umber. Just PBR7. But there's a lot of different shades of cool browns, yellow browns, almost to a red brown that are PBR7. And then it can be burnt or raw. Alrighty, Sandy, thank you for coming in and chatting with everybody. Don't let us, lurking is, knock yourself out with that. Don't, glad to have you here lurking or chatting. Cool. Okay, Joe. Joe's having let's check here. There were some fancy non-sugar, zero biscuits dipped in the coffee because of a shortage of non-salted Kerrygold. It's a nightmare to find. My brain is trying to work through whether you could, like, if you've got a pint of cream and you've made butter by churning the cream and then it's rinsed, then salt added. I was trying to think if you could, like, use water to take the salt out of the butter, but that's, who wants to do that before coffee? You know, they sell that in grocery stores here where I live. That butter goes everywhere. Irish Mart, I'm sticking with real food and plenty of sugar. You don't want to see me when the sugar cravings hit. I'm working on reducing the crap and more walking, and hopefully the scales will be kinder. Oh, everybody wants Kerrygold. No, it's always, no, it's been, oh, it's, I mean, I probably noticed it on the shelves here 20 years ago. It's a staple. Apparently grassed butter, grass-fed? Butter from grass-fed cows? Yeah, walking is... Okay, here's a wild thought. What if you just use the butter you have, which I do. I will sometimes put it in my beverage. I like the salted butter. But if you added a little bit of caramel to it, then you'd have salted caramel flavor. I mean, I don't hate that idea. Fuck. Just, I know. It's just, like, it won't let us just... Yeah. It has to humble us with the changing what we're trying to... Not just you. I've been watching the Lori Cox Yanez. There was another one there. Yeah, Valo Daybell trial, and it's breaking my brain. So don't mean to have a laugh in my voice about this, but she was convicted of killing her. She's on trial for conspiracy to commit murder right now in Chandler, Arizona, and she's already been convicted in Utah of killing her two biological children. Two of her biological no. Her two youngest children, one of whom was a biological child, one was adopted, and an open adoption. So 2 families are grieving that child. Um, her lover's wife. Yeah, she's already been convicted of killing 3 people. Her brother died mysteriously. One of her 5 ex-husbands, well, 2 of them. It's crazy. If you're a true crime buff, that I'll tell you. She got her brother to shoot husband number 4, killed him, and she's on trial. And the defense she's putting up is that it was that it was self-defense, which is, I mean, at a certain point when you've got a body count on you, literally just doing 3 consecutive life terms for killing people, it's very hard for me to believe that people who died in her presence that happened accidentally. Piece of work that woman is. This is Perylene Green. It's dark and bluish and kind of a pretty... it is a pretty color that's subtle and it's kind of grayed down a bit, maybe. Its pigment is PBK31, which is a black pigment, so yeah, kind of a grayed down green. Oh, I know what I was like. That was a lot of story to go with. So the daughter's name was Tylee, and spell check is just bound and determined to turn that into Tyler. And this young woman, the least we can do is use her name. So damn it, spell check. Probably ought to put this one out on a palette and water it down a bit. But I like the hue in there. Oh, Maya, I am absolutely Maya's asking, so when I'm watching trials, does my lawyer brain kick in? And I have been surprised, because it was a long time. I mean, I didn't lawyer terribly long, and when I was in law school, I had another certificate in alternative dispute resolution along with my law degree, and was really interested in that kind of law. So I was kind of setting out to do things that were peripheral and not just straight up trial lawyering. But when I got out of law school, there was a lot of competition for jobs, and there were not a lot of ADR, that is to say, mediation arbitration practices, and certainly none that were hiring. So I got hired at a trial firm, and I worked at a trial firm until I went, oh God, I hate working with lawyers. Literally. One day just went, I work with lawyers. The phone rings, it's lawyers. Or my client, which they've got stuff fucked up. And that sucks. I didn't think it out ahead of time before I went to law school. It just didn't occur to me that I would spend all of my waking hours and working hours, same thing, working and waking hours, dealing with lawyers. So I did a couple of contracts on things, like I was talking I think the last live stream I was talking about some of the work that I did for the BLM, and it's sort of quasi legal. It was, I mean, it was um, yeah, close enough. I'm saying no to a tangent. Look at that. And got called to work in the family business, and so I basically went into small business administration and then opened my own small business. There's not a thing that you do in life or in the world that really doesn't involve something that's a bit of lawyering. And anyway, so this woman has decided to represent herself. Not only decided, she's insisted on it. And there is I wish I knew off the top of my head who first said it, but I mean, it's something that lawyers, we get trained in pretty early, which is a lawyer who represents themselves has a fool for a client. Not a fool for a lawyer, a fool for a client. And uh, when I was in the one scrape I was in, I got a lawyer. It's just I have to be careful about this because I know we've got somebody in our community who is grappling with this, and I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to light a fire there, but just here's a little free legal advice to anybody listening to this. If you are if you're guilty, you need a lawyer, and if you are innocent, you absolutely need a lawyer. There is a whole it's not just a trap. It's not just a series of traps. It is a black hole of danger that you step into when you go into a courtroom and try to represent yourself, and you don't have that 3 years of law school and a bar exam. And part of the reason it's so dangerous is because of the words that are used, because they sound like English. But in a court of law, words have extremely specific meanings. They don't have, well, I think it means this. You can't just interpret a word. There's case law about the word and how what it means in a statute, what it means when it's applied or the government tries to enforce it against a citizen. And you think you know. And's just a word, right? Yeah, I know what that means. No, in the court of law, something you think is a word might have legally a very restricted and specific meaning. So it's kind of easy to think you might, well, I know, I'm smart, I'm well spoken, I'm calm, I've got a good capacity to keep myself calm in a stressful situation. But there's very little in life that's as stressful as being in a courtroom, particularly if you've got a jury. And you get that judge, they're up on a raised, almost all courtroom settings, the judge's bench is raised up. And I mean, you're looking up to it. It's all calculated to engage in the ritual. And even as a lawyer, it takes a while to really become facile with the procedure of that arena. And the stakes are high. So if you're facing jail time, my God, the stakes are high. And once you get a little bit of fight or flight going, the brain literally shuts down your left prefrontal cortex, which is that part of your brain you need to make those good decisions. Because fight or flight is the dominant mode. And what you need to have your brain doing is being a step ahead of the prosecution. You have to foresee the way they're going to attack or prosecute the case, attack your defense, and then you've got to make some projections about what they're going to do, and you need to have a counter plan in mind, and you need to have it like at your fingertips. That is it's like 3 or 4 steps beyond just keeping your own shit together. So, anyway, the question was asked was like, I'm watching this trial. Am I back in lawyer mode? Yeah, I'm yelling at the phone, watching this thing on YouTube, yelling at the phone, objection, argumentative, move to strike. Like it's a whole just, yeah. Anyway, I don't think I've ever watched a trial where somebody was going pro per or pro se representing themselves, and it is just if you are ever in a case where you think maybe I can do that, go watch the Lori Vallow trial, and that's a woman who's had literally years sitting in a prison cell because she was convicted of murder and not going anywhere, all the time on her hands, all the law library at her disposal, knowing that she was going to be charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and time to prepare her case. And she is not prepared. She's spending time chasing down the answers to questions that she has about the situation. Things like, what was in my husband's text messages? Because she knows the police extracted his phone, extracted the data from his phone, and prepared a report. And, like, if you just want to satisfy your curiosity and you don't care if your ass sits in prison, I guess, go for it. But if you have any hope to, sorry for that clatter, have an effective defense and not be convicted, so it's also a little bit odd because I've watched the trials. I've been watching this case since the child's grandmother, biological grandmother, said, where is my grandson? And put up the alarm. And then it was in the media out here in the Pacific Northwest. And this woman disappeared. Nobody knew where she was. And then she turns up in Hawaii, and media chased her down. And of course, it turns out that the children, by the time people were looking for them, that they were had already been victims. Did I got to lose my train of thought? Just crashed. I will tell you, I did realize this in watching it and just having the lawyer mode kick back in. It's like these a lot of people my age who are lawyers are still working, and they will keep working. Lawyering is one of those professions that people keep doing it. Is they'll do it until the very. I mean, they just keep lawyering, especially if they move from lawyering into being a judge. They'll do that, and they'll be a judge. Then after they basically retire, they might stay as a judge pro tem, where they pick and choose, and they'll take a case here and there because we're just so in need of the things that make up a courtroom, like a judge and a clerk and a bailiff and staff to run that courtroom and to take in the filings and do all of that stuff. That if somebody's still able to work in the judicial system, we just keep them going because there's so many people in need of help obtaining justice. So, I mean, yeah. and I'm glad I still don't have to do that. I can't imagine having a client like Lori Vallow. And I do believe that the least of us deserves the best of our justice system, because if they're squared away, everybody's squared away. But actually, being at the table and representing those kind of clients is, um, shit, I had trouble representing a guy who was drunk and fell into the bed of his own pickup truck. So I can't imagine, you know, worse. Oh, that's interesting. Back to chat. Let's see. How'd we go from making our coffee taste better to this? So random tonight. Joe says, I keep forgetting to watch this trial. We'll need to catch up each morning before Brian. Oh, Poet comes on in the morning, and we're not watch a second trial. How is it now a week? This trial is just rocketing, and the coverage from East Idaho News, they've been doing a super job of taking the chunks of testimony and editing them down and dealing with some of the technical sound problems. So if you want to just like check out the testimony, and most of it you can play on 1.5 speed, at least 1.25 speed, if not 1.5, and get through it. But it is rocketing along because the defendant does not know when to make objections. And if she had a lawyer, they would be doubling the time, because the lawyer would be arguing things like foundation on evidence and exceptions to the hearsay rule. And so it's going like a damn bullet train. And I think they'll be wrapping up. It's possible they could wrap up the uh, prosecution's case Thursday at close of business. And yeah, and Lori's had witness after witness be precluded because she hasn't complied with the criminal procedure rules of the court. Hasn't gotten things out in a timely way, hasn't subpoenas to witnesses, hasn't turned over access to her expert to the prosecution, so no expert witness. And it's just a circus. Um, so, will she even get on the stand and have her paralegal or her, no, she's pro se. It's such a serious case that the court has insisted that she have a paralegal and an advisory counsel, and they sit right there with her, and she can turn to him and ask him questions. But she's the one up at the podium asking, cross-examining witnesses at this point, because it's the prosecution case. I can't see her having her act together enough to even present much of a defense case. So maybe 2 days. I don't know. This is not going to be a 2 month trial for sure. I think we could be to a verdict by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week on it. Yeah, any questions? Good Lord. Maya says she struggles to watch the hospital shows because her healthcare brain kicks in and everything just annoys you, right? Why are they doing surgery in the dark? And Joe says, she is right in the trials as you have lawyers and police and forensic scientists in your family. I have, I have law enforcement, military, corrections. My dad actually, when he switched careers, he went to work in corrections. In vocational rehabilitation, not guarding and administering prisons, but let's you can't work in a prison and not be affected and impacted. Maybe I want some dusk green. Let's try that. But I was actually the first person in my family to, there were other members who had gone and to college, but I was the first person to finish college. And I was the first person to go to graduate school and to complete it, any kind of graduate program. No other lawyers in my family, which was probably contributed to me going, I don't want to do this. It wasn't what I thought it would be. But it is a... Hi, buddy. Hi. Could you put your sharp toes away? Thank you. The pickup truck guy. It's still, yeah, I hope that guy's walking somewhere. And not driving. I wish I had video of that, because that would be a viral reel or short, just the way that guy cartwheeled into the truck. Crazy. The YouTube channel with the good trial information, I have been watching, I've been just enjoying the daylights out of the people in chat, for the most part, over on the Fox 10 Phoenix YouTube channel. They've got a good feed. They bring up, when the trial breaks, and there's a lot of it in real time, right? They take an hour and a half lunch, they take a 15-minute break. Every time there's a sidebar, or anytime there's any sort of a motion, when the jury is sent out, the screen goes blank. And so some of the channels that are just straight streaming from the pool camera, you've got a lot of just looking at a court medallion or looking at a graphic with bad hold music playing while you're waiting for things to come back online. The Fox 10 Phoenix channel has Justin Lim and George as producer, and they come on and they discuss what's happened during those breaks. So I'm finding that informative and compelling. I mean, it's not entertaining. It's not entertainment. The reason we're there is because of Craven murder. So I'm not at all going to call it entertainment, but they're quite compelling. Nate Eaton over at East Idaho News has been on that case since some of the first news that came out was that there were children that were missing, and there was a lot of public attention on recovering these children. And like I mentioned earlier, by the time people were looking for them, they had already been murdered. So at one point, this woman and her lover, well, at one point, they killed his wife, and 2 weeks later went to Hawaii and got married 2 weeks after the woman was uh, was murdered, Tammy Douglas Daybell. And Nate Eaton, who of East Idaho News, flew to Hawaii and just when they tracked him down, he went there, and when they were seen in public, he was like chasing him with a microphone, going, where are the kids, Lori? Where are your children?" Just he's been on it since the search was on, and so his coverage is really dedicated and really comprehensive, and he and his team are doing the breakdowns with the shorter videos with the witnesses each day, and they've edited out the breaks and the sidebars and things, so you can just watch through without having a lot of, a lot of people don't have time like I do to watch the entire thing each day. So I think that's a good source. Yeah. Okay, so Maya's saying she's got a crazy cartoonish picture of her cross-examining herself, running back and forth. Uh, so she's not allowed to do that. What happens when you represent yourself and you take the stand is you prepare questions, and somebody has to, in that ritualized way, the very traditional presentation of evidence in court requires questions and answers. And you can only just answer the question. You can't talk about a bunch of 17 other things that come to mind. Yes or no and a direct answer. If you kind of wander off, the other side will object, and that blathering will be stricken from the record, and the jury will be instructed to disregard it. So, also, she's not allowed to just wander freely. She's got something called a rack belt around her waist, and there is a deputy there with a remote control. It is radio connected to her belt, and it delivers a taser level shock if she should do something like walk up to the judge or try to leave, or and this is in lieu of being handcuffed or shackled, waist and foot chains, because she is a prisoner. She's not just a defendant. She's a prisoner, and she is currently in the Maricopa County Jail, but she's just sort of on loan from Idaho, where she will, when this trial is done, win or lose, she will go back and continue serving her 3 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole, plus 15 years for fraud. So even if she's a translated being, she's as she is proclaimed herself to be a goddess, immortal being, celestial being. I'm still thinking like a natural lifetime. I mean, I don't care if it's 75 years or eternity. Enjoy Idaho prison. So it's not like Idaho prison just turned her loose to be roaming freely and going out to grab a burger at lunch. She is restrained physically, and she's been given the benefit of this thing being under her clothes, so she can appear to be, as some of the people have said, gee, I thought she was a lawyer. I didn't know she was the defendant. So, yeah, she's wearing street clothes, and personally I think she ought to be in leg irons and an orange jumpsuit, but that's just me being harsh. Yeah, so, yeah, and that's the sort of thing, like, when you are representing yourself, if you are gonna, you can't just add your 2 cents worth to the way you question people. You can't have a conversation. You really shouldn't be making comments like, okay, or thank you, because that is an affirmation of the answer that you've just got. That's you making an argument that is the truth. So you really have to work on any kind of vocal tics or habits. Yeah, Joe says it should be in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. And then, once you're done answering your own questions, uh, the prosecution's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you're not going to have those ahead of time. And then you, after being cross-examined, you'll have a chance for redirect. And you're not going to have very much time at all to develop those questions, give them to your paralegal or lawyer, and then have them ask you these questions. That's going to all have to happen on the fly. Because your lawyer is not going to be allowed, or your paralegal, whoever's working for you that's asking you the questions, they're not representing you. They can't draft a bunch of questions for your redirect on your defense. And then once that wraps up, the next thing is closing arguments, and the judge can say, all right, we're going to closing. And in closing, you got to sum everything up. You got to make your best arguments. You have to counter what's come at you. It's nice if you can have a little bit of time or a little bit of experience in closing arguments to be able to put that together in the most persuasive way for the jury. But, if you're representing yourself, you're just going to be frazzled down to your ass bone, and then you're going to need to do the best thinking you've ever done in your life to keep your freedom, keep your money, keep your good name. I wouldn't do it. Alrighty. Well, we blew right past two hours. I was gonna go to 2 hours, but yeah. Okay, so Maya's saying it could be interesting if the guy with the remote control started sneezing. I can't tell you how many people in the comments over at the very lively chat on the Fox 10 Phoenix YouTube channel. Yeah, they're just like, oh please, oh please. I would, I'd like to see her be. Yeah, I think that if we took a vote, if there was a poll, who wants to see Lori get shocked, get tased? I don't hate it. I wouldn't hate seeing that. You know. It's frazzled down to your ass bone. Exactly. It's a draining thing. It'll leave your even when you're representing somebody else in trial, like sitting there like basically third chair holding a trial notebook. Jello brain. It is not. And you think you should know what's going on, and I'll tell you the words and the rituals of it are. They are how we as a society have come together and agreed to settle differences. You get a chance, fix that shit on your own, work it out with your fellow citizen. If you can't, we go here, we go into the ritual of the court. And the ritual of the court is not the people's court. The ritual of the court is this thing that is evolved through common law and somewhat, like, especially if you're in Louisiana, that came through French jurisprudence. It's different than English common law. And then you've got different layers. You've got municipal, you've got state, you've got district, federal courts, then you've got the Supreme Court. And you have to know how all of those things work, as they're all working sometimes at the same time. If you're dealing with motions and God, just get a lawyer. Get more lawyers than one if you can. No, from what I've heard, it delivers a full-on law enforcement level taser, immobilizing sort of a. Yeah, they don't want to, they don't want murderers just running pell-mell around the courthouse. So what else can I say about that? I don't think I want to come on and do another episode about. Maybe I will. If you guys are into the true crime, I'm happy to talk about that. Especially like when I'm in a mood to be engaged with it, because most of the time I'm just like, don't talk law to me. I don't want to know. And especially after the experience last year of trying to help and then having that go so terribly, terribly sideways. Yeah, I mean, most of the time I'm just like, shut up about legal stuff. But if we can get, yeah, we can get some justice for these people. And this is another family. They have some justice for, because the child was Charles's sister's grandchild, so it was his grand nephew, and there were some family circumstances where the young man needed to be taken into care, and fortunately, his family, first his grandmother, and then Charles, said stepped up to adopt him. So that family, that's a whole other family, and there was very, connected with generations to this boy, and then they lost him, and prior to that, they lost their brother through this staged ambush where Charles was lured to the house and ambushed and killed. So they've lost their brother, and I can see why they would want this trial to go forward. And then additionally, there's another young man uh, who was shot at and very narrowly got managed for just whatever luck, because Alex Cox was not a good enough shot and missed him by inches. A bullet whizzed past his head. So they almost got him too, and that's her next trial. So that'll be stacking up in May. She'll stay in Arizona. I don't think she'll go back to Utah. She'll stay in Arizona, and then they'll get that next trial for the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux going in Maricopa County, Arizona. And I think for her, that will be, I'm sure she'll try to, finagle some crimes, no matter where she is. So I'm not going to say we'll never see another Lori Vallow trial after that, but yeah, let's put her where she deserves to be. Oh, Irish Mart says, oh no, it's not lethal. It's incapacitating. All right, so the shock that's delivered will put electrical shock enough to make your body tremble, and for you to lose control of your muscles. And if not always, I mean, there's some people who don't charge their tasers, and there's other people who are maybe on stimulant drugs or just not incapacitated because the part of the device that delivers the current does not get embedded properly. But if they get you with a good hit, it'll knock you down physically, make it so you can't move your limbs for a few seconds, and potentially lose control of your bladder. So we've got somebody advocating for an electrifying zap. I would say, this is me. Yeah, just knock her over, and if she pees down her own leg, that's not a problem to me. All right, last call. Last call for any questions on opinions about this. I'm hoping to see more evidence. The question I've got in my head right now about this is she's being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and I'm I here's the part, like what the story has been is that Charles was killed in self-defense. That's not a murder. So if he was not murdered and Alex Cox shot him and then died, Charles was shot on July 11th, and then Alex Cox died in December. And he was never brought to trial. At the point where Alex Cox died, law enforcement still was treating this incident as a self-defense homicide. So the man who shot him was not adjudicated because he was dead, so he wasn't charged of murder. And I really, I'm looking at the evidence that's been presented so far in this trial and thinking that we haven't had, and part of the reason we only have one story is because Lori killed everybody who was in that room. There were 4 people there. There was JJ, Tylee, Charles. Those people all murdered. Alex Cox dead under mysterious circumstances that could not be identified at autopsy as anything other than pulmonary embolisms. No information. There was nothing on the toxicology screen that indicated that he might have been giving some substances or pharmaceuticals that could have contributed or caused blood clots. I don't know. And yet now we are trying to convict this woman. And if I was a juror, I would be just scratching my head going, what murder? If we're going to convict her of conspiracy to commit murder, and everything that's been presented was, this was, he came into the house, there was a fight, a baseball bat was produced, people got scared, gun came out, man was shot. And we don't have anybody saying, no, it wasn't. I was there, I saw it. And the medical examiner talked about the autopsy where the manner of death was homicide, which is different than the manner of death. Medical examination determinations are different from adjudications. But what we don't have here in this case is that Charles Vallow has not been adjudicated as being a murder victim by anybody. So, you guys with me? You see that disconnect? Like how do you convict somebody of conspiracy to commit murder when they're actually killed in a self-defense situation, right? It just doesn't quite line up. And I hope that the prosecution will line those tracks up. Otherwise, I think the jury's just going to be going, yeah, she was a bitch. And she, went to Burger King and ordered some murdered chicken fries. And then went shoe shopping for not 1, but 2 pairs of shoes. Dropped her kid off at school. Oh, and then she called 911. I mean, that's a really bad human. That's not kind. But is that conspiracy to commit murder? I mean, it's happened after Charles Vallow was shot. He was already dead when she did all these really, what the hell? Inexplicable to me things. Yeah, 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 and a small Sprite and 2 bottles of water because, when you have a lot of adrenaline, she said today in one of her questions, if you have a lot of adrenaline, you need to hydrate. I don't know who pays $3.78 for 2 bottles of water. Lori Vallow. Yeah, Irish Bart says, well, sounds like she was making darn sure he was dead first before calling. I would say the second gunshot was the make darn sure he's dead part of the story, but yeah, no, there was no. I just, I'm just a bit. I think the word is dumbfounded at how blasé. And various witnesses have described her as being her and her brother Alex Koch as being very nonchalant about having shot Charles, and yeah, I kind of like we're at the point now where maybe need a bingo card with going to call Lori nonchalant. Yeah, she was blasé, giggling, calm. It just odd. And I know everybody, they behave a little bit differently when things go down, but um, that's some ice cold sociopath level behavior. So, I'm hoping, and as far as we have had witnesses who have discussed, who have mentioned Tylee and um, JJ, and oops, just gonna shut itself off. My brain just went boop. God, how do people get? I didn't. I just get. I probably ought to not try to put my brain down the path of you trying to figure out family annihilator, sociopath people. But in order the gallows humor to get through the trial, I'm like in there imagining all of these things that are coming up, just these absurd offers of evidence, and the level of crazy on this. Um, she keeps arguing that he was wearing a fitness garment, a T-shirt made of bamboo, and probably some sort of was like elastane, some sort of stretchy. That was a tight fit, and that had impacted his wounds. $200 bamboo shirt, and she's talking about it like the damn thing's made of Kevlar and with some sort of ballistic material, which my my way of looking at it is, I mean, ballistic vests don't always stop bullets depending on the strength of the, how big of a caliber gun it is and the type of ammunition used and how close or far away you are. They'll slow a bullet down and usually stop it, but not always stop it. And I know damn well a bamboo T-shirt is not going to contribute to somebody's death. And that's the other thing about it. Nothing in her argument says that this bamboo shirt um, contributed to his death. I mean, you can't make that argument. Well, the yeah, I'm trying to make my brain follow Lori's logic, and that's just a futile exercise. But yeah, I would say if your brother hadn't pointed a gun at him, pulled the trigger, and we assume that it was her brother because he called 911 and said he had, and told the officer on scene, yeah, I shot him. Yeah, pretty sure that's what did it. Yeah. Yeah, so at this point, I'm doing the lawyer thing, which is to try to anticipate maybe what the people in the jury are, what kind of questions they might have that amount to a reasonable doubt. And boy, I just hope the prosecution has a banging couple of days because, yeah, if I didn't know all of this other stuff and I only knew what I was, and that's what these jurors are. They're supposedly people who haven't seen media coverage and don't know that she murdered the two children. They don't know that Alex is dead, but there are some witnesses who have discussed the children and used their names and said JJ was, not is. They've used past tense. And so I think if the jury's listening carefully, they'll figure out those children are not available to tell us what happened that day. Alrighty, guys, my phone is about toast, and we have gone on and on. I have gone on and on, so I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for coming in and chatting, and leave those comments. If you're watching the uh, state of Arizona versus Lori Vallow Daybell, discuss in the comments. And have a great day. Get your preparations for your holiday or your gatherings, whatever you've got, or your vacation. And yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks to Maya for keeping the. I didn't even see a troll. How'd we manage that? You'll have to send me a message if you bopped somebody and I didn't see it. But this will be the first one in a long time we didn't get trolled. So, yay if that's the case. And thanks everybody in chat for coming in. Thanks for being kind to each other. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.